What is up, everybody? In this week's video, I decided to be a hype beast hipster god and shoot some Cinestill 800T. I grabbed my Bronica GS-1 and head over to Southeast Portland to shoot some long exposures. Okay, I'm all locked and loaded here with the Bronica. I think the composition I want is just across the street here. Alright, composition's all framed up. We're shooting at f11, 1 second exposure. 3, 2, 1. After getting my scans back, I can easily say that it is wise to err on the side of overexposing as opposed to underexposing these long exposure film shots. That was a lot of exposures. I found it to be pretty easy to retain a lot of the detail and the highlights when I toned them down, and then I found it to be quite difficult to retain detail in the shadows when bumping them up. It just got really grainy and muddy really quickly, so definitely overexpose when in doubt. Back up and on to the next one. Oh baby. Okay, so I've just come to this next spot, which is like a small car dealership. It's all fenced off, but I think I can shoot through the fence and potentially still get a kind of cool shot. Okay, I have the camera pretty much pressed right up against the fence here. I'm shooting it at f22 because I want to make sure that all of the car and the dealership in the background, I want to make sure it's all in focus. Alright, so it's saying about a 4 second exposure. F22 at 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I just pulled into this hotel parking lot and I see a couple of things I might be able to shoot here. The first being this garage. It's got some nice pillars and 2 cars parked that I might be able to frame up in a nice way. And then the second thing is the sign. It just says like free Wi-Fi and breakfast or something on it. And then in the backdrop there's some nice hotel rooms. It just looks really classic, like a kind of an old hotel feeling. So I'm gonna try to grab a couple photos here, I think. All right, so it looks like f11 at 1 second. 3, 2, 1. You'll notice that I crop a majority of these photos. I don't know if it's the Cinestill that brings it out of me, but I love the idea of shooting a very cinematic scene, especially when doing long exposures. With all of my film work, I feel like film is just naturally a very cinematic medium, and me being a bit of a filmmaker and film enthusiast myself, I'm always looking for opportunities to shoot a scene that reminds me of something that I would see in a movie. So I crop a lot of these to a wider format, just because I think it adds a cinematic element to the photos, and it's a style that I really enjoy. Okay, now I'm just gonna walk over to the sidewalk and hopefully grab a picture of the sign in front. The exposure is a little tricky because the sign is a bit brighter than the background. So the sign is metering at 1/6 at f11. The background's measuring at 1 second at f11. So I think I'm gonna shoot it at 1/2, and that should give me a good middle ground to hopefully work with. 2, 1. All right. I'm obviously not about that clickbait YouTube life, because a cop just came up to me and questioned me and asked me why I was here and stuff, and I should have pressed record on my camera to get the audio, but I didn't because I suck. This one should be a little bit interesting because there's no real subject here. I just think all these pillars are really nice and the lighting is cool, and there's this deep blue over here off to the right. 65mm on here, get a wide nice view of the whole parking garage. Let's see, 1/4 of a second. All right, f11 at 1/4. I may just shoot parking garages for the rest of the roll. I don't know why, they're so cinematic to me. And I think on the Cinestill film it'll look pretty sweet with this really white light. I'm feeling pretty good about this frame right here. We're at 1/2 a second. Should look something like that, I believe. 3, 2, 1. This picture is probably in my top 5 favorite images that I've taken. I think it's incredibly cinematic. It reminds me of a frame from a Christopher Nolan movie. Cinestill does a great job giving off that beautiful red glow on the ceiling lights there, and it's also kind of hard to tell which year this might have been taken in. On one hand, you got this kind of futuristic vibe to the overall image, and then on the right side of the frame, you have this old car that gives off this nostalgic and vintage vibe. And then the pillars in the parking garage just make it seem like an endless maze. There's a lot to look at with this photo, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, I have now made my way over to the Lloyd Center Mall, and I have framed up a nice wide shot of the whole parking lot. It is so nice shooting at night because you're not dealing with people, and you get to capture these landscapes that are usually packed with cars or filled with pedestrians. Okay, so for this one, my phone is saying 1/4 of a second, my camera's saying 1/2 of a second. I just shot a test photo on my digital camera, and it looks like a 1/2 a second is gonna be the better exposure here. So we're gonna shoot this at f/16 at 1/2 a second. 2, 1. So I looped around to the other side of the Lloyd Center Mall. I see a kind of interesting photo of this parking garage here. We're gonna throw the 150mm lens on though. 3, 2, 1. I have to violently urinate right now, so I'm gonna blast a photo of this staircase over here with the 150mm lens. I hope the security car doesn't get mad at me. Don't pull up right in front of my shot, man. Come on. All right, I'm just a photographer. I'm out taking urban landscapes along exposures for a school project. Okay. This is f/22 at 1 second. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'm packing up and peacing out because my bladder is going to explode. Remember when photography was considered an art and not loitering? Those were the good old days. Overall, I'm really happy with the results of these images. It was my first time shooting long exposures on film at night, so it was a good learning experience, and in a couple weeks I'll be shooting Portrait 400 at night, doing long exposures with that film stock, so it'll be interesting to compare the two. Other than that, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys next week. Peace!